The sky above Seoul turned dark at exactly 3 in the afternoon. It was not clouds. It was not an eclipse. It was something far worse. Kyun stood on the rooftop of the United Earth Council building and watched as massive ships appeared through the atmosphere. There were hundreds of them. Each one was bigger than any building he had ever seen. They hung in the air like mountains made of metal, blocking out the sun itself. He was 42 years old. He had spent 20 years as a diplomat. He had solved border disputes between nations. He had negotiated peace treaties that saved thousands of lives. But nothing in his career had prepared him for this moment. His communicator buzzed. It was Director Hana from the Emergency Response Center. "Kyun, we need you in the main hall now," she said. Her voice was calm, but he could hear the fear underneath. "They want to talk." "Who are they?" he asked. "They call themselves the Velrath Empire. They say they rule over 300 star systems. And they say Earth belongs to them now." Kyun took one last look at the ships above. Then he turned and walked inside. The main hall of the United Earth Council was filled with the most powerful people on the planet. Presidents sat next to prime ministers. Generals stood beside scientists. Everyone was looking at the large screen on the wall. On the screen was an alien face. The creature was tall and gray. Its skin looked like stone. Its eyes were pure black, like holes in space. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "I am Commander Vorath of the Velrath Empire," the alien said. "I speak for the Eternal Council that rules the known galaxy. Your planet has been observed for many cycles. Your species has been judged." Kyun stepped forward. The other humans moved aside to let him through. Someone had to speak for Earth, and he had been chosen. "I am Kyun," he said. "I represent the United Earth Council. We welcome peaceful contact with other species." Vorath made a sound that might have been laughter. It was not a pleasant sound. "Peaceful contact," the commander repeated. "You misunderstand your situation, human. We have not come for contact. We have come to claim what is ours. Earth is our home," Kyun said. "It has never belonged to anyone else. Everything in this sector of space belongs to the Velrath Empire," Vorath said. "This is not a matter for debate. This is simply how things are. You will accept our rule, or you will be removed." A murmur went through the crowd of humans. Kyun raised his hand to quiet them. "And if we refuse?" he asked. Vorath leaned closer to the screen. His black eyes seemed to grow even darker. "Then we will do what we have done to every other species that refused. We will burn your cities. We will destroy your monuments. We will erase every trace of your existence from this planet. And then, we will bring our own people here to start fresh." The room went completely silent. Kyun could hear his own heartbeat. "You have no defenses," Vorath continued. "We scanned your entire planet before we arrived. You have no planetary shields. You have no orbital weapons. You have no defense grid of any kind. Your world is completely unguarded." General Tae stepped forward. He was an old man with gray hair and a face full of scars. He had fought in 3 wars before the world finally united under one government. "We have weapons," Tae said. "We have armies. We will fight." Vorath looked at the general with what might have been pity. "Your weapons are primitive," the commander said. "Your armies are tiny. We have conquered species with far greater technology than yours. We have destroyed civilizations that spanned entire star systems. You are nothing to us. You are insects." "Then why talk at all?" Kyun asked. "Why not simply attack?" Vorath was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke again. "Because the Eternal Council values efficiency. It is easier to rule a planet that surrenders than to rebuild one that fights. We give every species one chance to submit peacefully. This is your chance." "How long do we have?" Kyun asked. "1 cycle," Vorath said. "In your time measurements, approximately 1 day. When the sun rises again on this city, you will give us your answer. Surrender, and your species will survive as servants of the Empire. Refuse, and you will be forgotten." The screen went dark. The alien was gone. The room exploded into noise. People were shouting. Some were crying. Others were already calling for immediate military action. Kyun stood still in the middle of the chaos. He was thinking. Director Hana approached him. Her face was pale. What do we do? She asked. We cannot surrender. But he is right. We have no real defenses against ships like that. I know, Kyun said. Then what? Kyun was quiet for a long moment. Then a strange smile appeared on his face. He said we are unguarded, Kyun said. He said we have no weapons that can threaten them. That is true. No, Kyun said. That is what he believes. But he does not know us. He does not know what we are. Hana looked confused. What do you mean? Kyun turned to face her. His eyes were bright now. The fear was gone, replaced by something else. Something that looked almost like excitement. He thinks we are peaceful because we choose to be peaceful. He thinks we have no defenses because we are weak. But he is wrong. He has made a terrible mistake. What mistake? He assumed that a species without visible weapons is a species that cannot fight, Kyun said. He looked at our planet and saw no shields, no orbital cannons, no defense grid, and he thought that meant we were harmless. Kyun walked toward the door. Hana followed him. Where are you going? She asked. To get some books, Kyun said. Commander Vorath wants to know why Earth is unguarded. I think it is time to show him why we do not need guards. He paused at the door and looked back at the room full of frightened leaders. Call him back in 1 hour, Kyun said. Tell him that Earth has a response. And tell him to bring his senior officers. They will want to hear this. Then he was gone, walking quickly down the hallway toward the archives. Hana watched him go. She did not understand what he was planning. But for the first time since the ships appeared, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The archives of the United Earth Council were deep underground. They contained records from every nation that had ever existed. Books, documents, photographs, and videos from thousands of years of human history. Kyun walked through the long rows of shelves. He knew exactly what he was looking for. He pulled out a thick book with a worn leather cover. It was old, very old. The pages were yellow and fragile, but the words inside were still clear. The Art of War, he whispered. Written over 2,000 years ago, and still true today. He grabbed more books. Military histories, war records, photographs that most people never wanted to see. By the time he was done, he had a stack of materials that reached up to his chest. A young archivist named Jin watched him with wide eyes. Sir, what are you doing? Jin asked. I am preparing a lesson, Kyun said. The most important lesson anyone has ever taught. He carried the materials upstairs to the main hall. The world leaders were still there, still arguing about what to do. Some wanted to surrender, others wanted to fight. Nobody could agree on anything. Kyun set his books down on the central table with a heavy thud. Everyone stopped talking and looked at him. I requested another meeting with Commander Vorath, Kyun said. He agreed. He thinks we are going to surrender. Are we? The president of the European Federation asked. No, Kyun said. We are going to educate him. Before anyone could ask what he meant, the large screen flickered back to life. Commander Vorath appeared again. This time, there were other aliens behind him, his senior officers, just as Kyun had requested. Human, Vorath said. I am told you have a response for us. I hope for your sake it is surrender. It is not, Kyun said. Vorath's stone-like face showed no emotion, but his voice grew colder. Then you have chosen death. No. Kyun said. I have chosen to answer your question. You asked why Earth is unguarded. You said we have no weapons worth fearing. I am here to explain why you are wrong. Vorath made that unpleasant laughing sound again. You wish to threaten us? With what? Your primitive missiles? Your tiny armies? No, Kyun said. With our history. He lifted the first book from the pile. It was a history of ancient warfare. Do you know what this is? Kyun asked. A book, Vorath said. Primitive data storage. It is more than that. This book contains records of human conflict from over 3,000 years ago. Before we had electricity. Before we had machines. When our only weapons were sharp metal and fire. Kuhn opened the book to a marked page. There was an empire called Rome, he said. It conquered most of the known world at that time. Do you know how many people died in their wars? Vorath said nothing. Millions, Kuhn said. Millions of our own kind. Killed with swords and spears. Entire cities burned to the ground. Populations enslaved. And this was just one empire among many. He set down the first book and picked up another. This is a record of something called the Mongol Empire. They came from the grasslands and conquered everything in their path. They killed so many people that the population of entire regions dropped by half. Some historians believe they killed 40 million humans. In a single war? One of the alien officers asked. He sounded surprised. In a series of conquests that lasted about 200 years, Kuhn said. With horses and arrows and swords. Nothing more. He could see the aliens exchanging looks. Good. They were starting to understand. You said we are insects, Kuhn continued. You said we are primitive. And perhaps by your standards we are. But Commander Vorath, let me ask you something. Has the Velrath Empire ever fought a war against itself? Vorath was quiet for a moment. No. He finally said. War within the Empire is forbidden. We are unified. We do not waste resources fighting our own kind. Then you do not understand war, Kuhn said. Not really. Because war is not just something we do to enemies, it is something we do to each other. We have been killing each other since the first human picked up a rock and used it as a weapon. He lifted a thick folder of photographs. These images are from something we call World War I. It happened about 150 years ago. 20 million humans died. Not over centuries. Over 4 years. He spread the photographs across the table. Trenches filled with bodies. Destroyed cities. Fields covered with the dead. We invented new ways to kill each other, Kuhn said. Poison gas that burned the lungs. Machines that could fire hundreds of bullets in seconds. Tanks that could crush anything in their path. And when that war ended, do you know what happened? Vorath said nothing. We started another one, Kuhn said. 20 years later. We call it World War II. This time, 70 million died. The alien officers were murmuring among themselves now. Vorath silenced them with a gesture. Numbers prove nothing, Vorath said. But his voice was less certain than before. Many species have violent histories. Perhaps, Kuhn said. But no other species perfected violence the way we did. No other species spent thousands of years developing better and better ways to destroy itself. He pulled out another folder. This one was marked with warning symbols. And then, Kuhn said, we invented this. He showed them pictures of mushroom clouds rising over cities. Nuclear weapons, Kuhn said. We created bombs that could destroy entire cities in a single flash. We built enough of them to destroy our own planet several times over. Why? One of the alien officers asked. He looked genuinely confused. Why would you build weapons that could destroy yourselves? Because our enemies had them too, Kuhn said, and we would rather destroy everything than lose. He let those words hang in the air for a moment. You came to our planet and saw no defenses. You scanned our world and found no planetary shields. And you thought that meant we were weak, that we were peaceful, that we had nothing to fear. Kuhn closed the folder of nuclear photographs. But Commander Vorath, we are not peaceful because we are weak. We are peaceful because we chose to be. We looked at our history, at the millions upon millions of dead, and we decided that we were tired of war. We put down our weapons and tried to build something better. He stepped closer to the screen, until his face filled most of the alien commander's view. But make no mistake, the weapons are still there. The knowledge is still there. And if you threaten us, if you try to take our home, we will remember everything our ancestors taught us. Kuhn smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You want to know why Earth is unguarded? Because we are the guards. Every single human on this planet carries thousands of years of warfare in their blood. We do not need shields. We do not need orbital cannons. We have something far more dangerous. And what is that? Vorath asked. Experience, Kuhn said. We have been killing each other since before your empire existed. And we have gotten very, very good at it. He reached for another book. But I am not finished, Kuhn said. You have only heard the beginning. Let me tell you more about what humans are capable of when they are threatened. Vorath did not disconnect the call. He stood there, watching, as Kuhn continued to pile books and records onto the table. The history lesson was just getting started. Commander Vorath had not moved from his position. His black eyes remained fixed on the human called Kuhn. Around him, his officers whispered to each other in their own language. They were disturbed by what they had heard. But Vorath was not ready to show weakness. Your words are impressive, Vorath said. But they are only words. History is not a weapon. You cannot fight our ships with stories about dead civilizations. Kuhn nodded slowly. He had expected this response. You are right, he said. History alone cannot stop your fleet. But history teaches lessons. And the lesson of human history is simple. We never stop fighting. We never surrender. And we always find a way to win. He gestured to General Tay, who had been standing quietly near the wall. The old soldier stepped forward, his scarred face hard as iron. Commander Vorath, Tay said, I have fought in 3 wars. The last one ended 30 years ago, when the nations of Earth finally united. Do you know why we stopped fighting each other? Vorath said nothing. Because we realized that if we continued, there would be nothing left, Tay said. We had weapons that could burn the atmosphere itself. We had diseases we created in laboratories, designed to kill millions. We had machines that could think faster than any human and kill without mercy. He pulled a small device from his pocket and pressed a button. New images appeared on the screen, overlaying Vorath's face. These are our cities after the last war, Tay said. This was Tokyo. This was Paris. This was New York. 40 years ago. They were ruins. Millions dead. The air was poisoned for 3 years in some regions. The images were terrible. Burned buildings stretching to the horizon. Empty streets covered with ash. Mass graves that seemed to go on forever. And we did this to ourselves. Tay continued. Not aliens. Not invaders. We did this because 2 groups of humans disagreed about how the world should be run. Vorath's officers had stopped whispering. They were watching the images with something that might have been horror. You think you understand war? Tay said. You think because you have conquered 300 star systems. You know what conflict means. But let me tell you something, Commander. Your species has never truly been at war. You have never been pushed to the edge of extinction and then pushed yourself even further just to survive. Kuhn stepped forward again, taking over from the general. Let me tell you about human survival, Kuhn said. When our ancestors were still living in caves, they faced creatures larger and stronger than themselves. Animals with teeth like knives and claws that could cut through bone. We had no ships, no weapons. We were soft and slow and weak. He paused. And we killed them all. Vorath made a sound of disbelief. Impossible. It is true, Kuhn said. Every large predator that ever threatened us is now extinct. We hunted them down, one by one, generation after generation, until there were none left. Not because we had to. We could have learned to avoid them. We could have hidden. But that is not what humans do. He picked up another book from the pile. We are not a defensive species, Kuhn said. We do not run. We do not hide. When something threatens us, we destroy it completely. We wipe it from existence. And then we find the next threat and do the same thing. Captain Yuna entered the room. She was young, only 32, but she commanded one of Earth's most advanced military units. She carried a tablet in her hands. I have the files you requested, she said to Kuhn. Show them, Kuhn said. Yuna connected her tablet to the main screen. New images appeared beside the ruins of the old cities. These images were different. They showed weapons. Human weapons. These are the things we built to kill each other, Yuna said. Missiles that can travel faster than sound and strike targets anywhere on the planet within minutes. Drones that can operate without any human control, hunting their targets until they are destroyed. Submarines that can stay hidden under the oceans for years, carrying enough nuclear weapons to destroy entire continents. She swiped to the next image. Biological weapons designed to target specific genetic codes. Chemical agents that can kill in seconds. Electromagnetic devices that can disable all electronics in a city-sized radius. Another swipe. And these are just the weapons we made before we united. Since then, we have developed even more. Weapons that can manipulate gravity itself. Energy beams that can cut through mountains. Things we have never used because we promised ourselves we never would. Vorath leaned forward. For the first time, there was something other than arrogance in his voice. Why would you create such things if you never intended to use them? Because we know ourselves, Yuna said. We know what we are capable of when we are angry. When we are scared. When our survival is threatened. We built these weapons as a warning to ourselves, a reminder of what we could become if we let our worst instincts take control. Kyun stepped beside her. You called us primitive, he said. You called us insects. But Commander Vorath, insects do not build weapons of mass destruction. Insects do not split the atom just to create bigger explosions. Insects do not invent new ways to kill billions of their own kind simply because they can. He pointed at the screen, where images of human weapons still glowed. Only humans do that. Only we are capable of that level of creative destruction. And that is why Earth is unguarded. Because we are the most dangerous thing on this planet. The shields would be to protect others from us, not the other way around. Vorath was silent for a long moment. His officers shifted nervously behind him. You are trying to frighten us, Vorath finally said. You are showing us these images, telling us these stories, hoping we will be too afraid to attack. Yes, Kyun said simply. Is it working? The question hung in the air like a challenge. One of the alien officers spoke up. He was smaller than Vorath, with lighter gray skin. Commander, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. If even half of what they say is true, the cost of conquest could be higher than the value of this planet. Silence, Vorath snapped. But there was less certainty in his voice now. Kyun smiled. Your officer is wise, Kyun said. Because everything we have told you is true. And there is more. Much more. We have not even begun to tell you about what humans do to enemies who invade their homes. He reached for another folder. You want to know why your scans showed no defenses? It is because we learned a very important lesson long ago. The best weapons are the ones your enemy cannot see until it is too late. Vorath's black eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I mean that the missiles are hidden. The nuclear warheads are buried deep underground. The biological weapons are stored in facilities that look like ordinary buildings. Everything we built, everything we could use to fight you, is invisible until we choose to reveal it. Yuna added. We have submarines carrying enough firepower to destroy your fleet 10 times over. And right now, you cannot find a single one of them. They are ghosts in our oceans, waiting for orders. Kyun stepped even closer to the screen. You came here thinking Earth was easy prey. You thought we were sheep waiting to be slaughtered. But you were wrong. We are wolves who chose to live like sheep because we were tired of killing. And you just woke us up. The room was completely silent now. Humans and aliens alike were watching the confrontation between Kyun and Vorath. The history lesson was almost complete, but the most important part was still to come. Commander Vorath stood very still on the screen. His black eyes moved from Kyun to the images of weapons, then back to Kyun again. The silence stretched on for several long seconds. Finally, Vorath spoke. Even if everything you say is true, he said, it does not matter. Your weapons are designed to kill each other. They are made for fighting on the surface of your planet. Our ships are in orbit. Your missiles cannot reach us. Your soldiers cannot touch us. We can simply stay above your world and burn it piece by piece until nothing remains. Kyun had expected this argument. He nodded slowly. You are correct, he said. Most of our weapons cannot reach your ships. They were built for a different kind of war. But Commander Vorath, You are making another mistake. What mistake? You are assuming we would try to fight you in space. Vorath tilted his head slightly. Where else would you fight? Kuhn looked at General Tay and Captain Yuna. They both nodded. Tell me, Commander, Kuhn said. How long can your fleet stay in orbit? How long before you need supplies? Food? Fuel? How many soldiers do you have on those ships? Vorath did not answer immediately. Kuhn could see the alien calculating. We have supplies for several cycles, Vorath finally said. More than enough to complete any conquest. And after that? You must return somewhere for more supplies. You must have bases, factories, places where your ships are built and repaired, of course. But those places are far from here. You could never reach them. Kuhn smiled. It was a cold smile, empty of any warmth. Not yet, he said. But humans are very good at solving problems. Very good at building new things. And very, very patient. When we want revenge. He pulled out one final folder from his pile of materials. This one was marked with the highest security classification Earth had. Let me show you something, Kuhn said. These are plans. Designs we created 50 years ago during our last Great War. Before we united. Before we chose peace. He spread the documents across the table. Even from the screen, Vorath could see what they contained. Ship designs, weapon systems, engine diagrams. We call them generation ships, Kuhn said. Massive vessels designed to carry humans across the stars. They were built for colonization. For spreading our species to new worlds. You have no space fleet, Vorath said. We scanned your entire system. You have nothing but primitive satellites and small stations. Because we stopped building them, Kuhn said. When we united, we decided that expanding to the stars could wait. We wanted to fix our own world first. But the knowledge is still there. The plans are still there. And we can start building again very quickly if we need to. Captain Yuna stepped forward. It would take us perhaps 10 years to build a fleet, she said. Maybe less, if we put all our resources into it. And our ships would not be like yours, Commander. They would not be built for exploration or trade. They would be built for one purpose only. What purpose? Vorath asked, though he already seemed to know the answer. Revenge, Yuna said simply. We would hunt down every Velroth colony, every supply station, every factory and shipyard. We would not stop until your entire empire was ashes. Kuhn nodded. You see, Commander, that is what you do not understand about humans. We do not fight for territory. We do not fight for resources. We fight because we refuse to lose. We fight until our enemies are completely destroyed, no matter how long it takes. He pointed at the documents on the table. You could burn our cities today. You could kill millions of us. You might even win this battle. But you would not win the war, because the humans who survive would dedicate their entire existence to hunting you down. Their children would continue the fight. And their grandchildren. Generation after generation. Until your empire exists. Only in history books. One of the alien officers spoke up again. His voice was trembling. Commander, we should leave. This species is insane. They will destroy themselves just to destroy us. Vorath turned and struck the officer with his fist. The alien fell to the ground. Silence, Vorath commanded. But when he turned back to the screen, his confidence had cracked. Kuhn could see fear in those black eyes now. Real fear. You are bluffing, Vorath said. No species would sacrifice so much for revenge. It makes no logical sense. Logic, Kuhn repeated. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Commander, have you not been listening? We spent thousands of years killing each other over pieces of dirt, over invisible gods, over words written in old books. We have never been logical. We are emotional. We are irrational. And when someone hurts us, we hurt them back 100 times worse. He picked up one of the history books and held it toward the screen. This book contains stories of blood feuds that lasted for centuries. Families killing each other generation after generation because of a single insult spoken hundreds of years before. Villages wiped out because someone's great-great-grandfather stole a cow. That is who we are. That is what you are threatening. Vorath took a step back from the screen. He looked at his officers. They were all watching him, waiting for orders. None of them wanted to speak. You asked why Earth is unguarded, Kuhn said. Now you know. It is not because we are weak. It is because nothing is stupid enough to attack us. Every species that has watched us from the stars has seen what we do to each other and decided to stay away. They understand what you clearly do not. And what is that? Vorath asked. His voice was quieter now. That the most dangerous creature in the universe is not the one with the biggest weapons. It is the one willing to use those weapons no matter the cost. And humans, Commander, will always be willing. We have proven that over and over throughout our history. Kuhn set down the book. So here is your choice, he said. You can attack us. You can burn our cities and kill our people. And then you can spend the rest of eternity watching over your shoulder, waiting for the human ships to arrive. Because they will arrive. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not in your lifetime. But they will come, and they will never stop coming until your empire is nothing but dust. He paused. Or you can leave. Right now. Go back to your eternal council and tell them that Earth is not worth the price. Tell them that humans are insane, violent creatures who should be avoided at all costs. Warn them never to come here again. Kuhn spread his hands. The choice is yours, but I suggest you choose wisely. Because once this starts, it will not end until one of our species no longer exists. And I promise you, Commander, it will not be us. The screen was silent. Vorath stared at Kuhn for a long, long moment. Then he turned to his officers and began speaking in his own language. Kuhn could not understand the words, but he could see the body language. The alien commander was no longer standing tall and proud. His shoulders were bent. His movements were uncertain. The fear had taken hold. Now it was just a matter of waiting to see what decision the Velrath would make. The silence lasted for 3 full minutes. Kuhn stood perfectly still, watching the screen. Commander Vorath was speaking quietly with his officers in their alien language. Their gestures were sharp and quick. An argument was happening. Around Kuhn, the human leaders watched with held breath. Director Hana stood beside him, her hands clasped so tightly that her knuckles had turned white. General Tay had his hand near his communicator, ready to give the order for Earth's hidden weapons to activate at any moment. Captain Yuna watched the aliens with narrow eyes, analyzing their body language for any sign of threat. Finally, Vorath turned back to the screen. His black eyes had changed. The arrogance was gone. The certainty was gone. What remained was something Kuhn recognized very well. Respect. Human, Vorath said. Kuhn. You have given me much to think about. Have I? Kuhn said. His voice remained calm, but his heart was beating fast. I have conquered many worlds, Vorath continued. I have seen species surrender before my fleet even finished arriving. I have watched civilizations crumble at the mere threat of our weapons. But I have never met a species like yours. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. You are not afraid of death. You are not afraid of losing. You would rather destroy everything than submit to another. This is not courage. This is something else. Something I do not have a word for in my language. We call it stubbornness, Kuhn said. Or pride. Or madness. Different words depending on who is judging. Vorath made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it was different from before. Less mocking. Almost admiring. My officers believe we should leave, Vorath said. They say the cost of conquering Earth would be too high. They say your species would be more trouble than any planet is worth. Kuhn waited. He did not speak. The moment was too delicate for words. I am inclined to agree with them, Vorath said. A wave of relief swept through the room. Some of the human leaders collapsed into chairs, others embraced each other. But Kuhn remained standing, his eyes fixed on the alien commander. However, Vorath continued, I must explain this to the Eternal Council. They do not accept failure easily. They will want to know why I did not simply destroy your planet and end the threat you represent. And what will you tell them? Kuhn asked. Vorath was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke slowly, as if choosing each word with great care. I will tell them the truth. That Earth is protected by something more dangerous than shields or weapons. That your species has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of destruction. That attacking you would begin a war that would never end. He straightened his posture, regaining some of his earlier dignity. I will tell them that humans are not prey. That you are predators who have chosen to rest. And that waking you would be the greatest mistake the Empire could ever make. Kuhn nodded slowly. That would be wise, he said. Because everything I told you is true. If you attack us, we will hunt you forever. But if you leave us in peace, we are happy to be peaceful. We have no desire to expand across the galaxy. We have no wish to conquer others. All we want is to be left alone. I believe you, Vorath said. And perhaps that is the strangest part of all this. A species capable of such violence, choosing peace. It makes no sense. It makes perfect sense, Kuhn said. We know what we are capable of. We have seen it. We have lived it. And we decided that we did not like what we saw. Peace is harder than war, Commander. It takes more strength to stop fighting than to continue. But we managed it. He stepped closer to the screen one final time. All we ask is that you let us keep our peace. Do not force us to become what we used to be. Because if you do, you will not like what emerges. Vorath nodded once. A gesture of acknowledgement between equals. I will take your message to the Eternal Council, he said. I cannot promise they will listen. But I will tell them what I have learned here today. And I will recommend that Earth be marked as a forbidden zone. A world to be avoided at all costs. That would be appreciated, Kuhn said. The screen flickered. Vorath's image began to fade. One last thing, human, Vorath said. Your species is very young compared to the others in the galaxy. You have only existed for a tiny fraction of cosmic time, and yet you have already accomplished what older species never could. You conquered yourselves. You overcame your own nature. That is truly remarkable. Thank you, Kuhn said. Do not thank me, Vorath said. I am simply stating a fact. Your species is terrifying. And I hope we never meet again. The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Director Hana let out a long breath and sat down heavily in the nearest chair. It worked, she whispered. It actually worked. The room erupted into celebration. People were laughing, crying, embracing each other. The tension of the past hours was releasing all at once, but Kuhn did not celebrate. He walked to the window and looked up at the sky. The massive alien ships were already moving. One by one, they were pulling back, rising higher into the atmosphere. Leaving, Captain Yuna joined him at the window. That was amazing, she said. You talked them into retreating without firing a single shot. I did not talk them into anything, Kuhn said. I simply told them the truth. Our history spoke for itself. Quote, they watched as another ship vanished into the clouds above. Do you think they will really stay away? Yuna asked. Kuhn was quiet for a long moment. I hope so, he said finally. But if they do not, we will be ready. We always are. General Tay approached them. The old soldier looked tired, but there was pride in his eyes. You did well, Tay said. You turned our greatest shame into our greatest weapon. All those years of war, all those millions of dead, and today it saved us. That is the irony, Kuhn said. All the terrible things we did to each other gave us the reputation we needed to survive. Our ancestors would not believe it. Tay nodded. They would be proud, he said, in their own way. The last of the alien ships disappeared from view. The sky was clear again. The sun shone down on Seoul as if nothing had happened. Kyun turned away from the window and looked at the room full of relieved humans. "We need to prepare," he said. "In case they come back. In case others come." "How?" Hana asked. "We start building," Kyun said. "Ships, weapons, defenses. Not to conquer, not to attack, but to make sure that every species in the galaxy knows the truth about humanity." He picked up one of the history books from the table. The pages were old and worn, but the stories inside would never die. "Our history is our shield," Kyun said. "And as long as we remember it, as long as we honor both the good and the terrible things we have done, we will never be truly threatened, because every alien who learns about us will understand the same thing Commander Vorath learned today." "What is that?" Yuna asked. Kyun smiled. This time, the smile was warm. "That humans do not lose. We survive. We adapt. We overcome. No matter the odds. No matter the enemy. That is who we are. That is who we have always been." He set down the book and walked toward the door. "Come," he said. "We have work to do. The galaxy knows about us now. It is time to make sure they never forget." The human leaders followed him out of the room, leaving behind the piles of history books and war records, relics of a violent past that had become their salvation. Outside, the people of Earth looked up at the clear sky and wondered what had happened. They would learn soon enough. They would learn that their species had been threatened, and that one man with a book of history had saved them all. Not with weapons, not with threats, but with the simple, terrible truth of what humanity was capable of. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, Commander Vorath was already beginning his report to the Eternal Council. He would tell them about the strange species called humans. He would warn them about the planet called Earth. And he would make very sure they understood one thing above all else: never wake the sleeping wolves.